Your boy Andrew Tate, dude.
My
He's
boy.
your
Fuck
boy.
Andrew
You
Tate,
love
bro.
Andrew Tate.
I
know.
see you fucking retweet his ass every other day.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I might have. I don't know.
fucking-
I may have retweeted him at some point.
I think like hasn't really been worth talking about up until now, just because he wasn't in jail yet. I don't know. Like I never understood like his big come up until this past week. There's like a Vice documentary about him. I don't know if you watched any of that.
I think I've seen clips of it and stuff. I think I know what you're talking about. How he had that like whole like marketing scheme of like
He had
People would
like
post his
this
shit.
pyramid scheme, basically like so originally the marketing shit that he did was like how to start your own webcam harem. Basically, you use the lover boy method to trick a bunch of women into being your online prostitutes. You make them fall in love with you. You get them to start webcamming, and then they give you all the money. And he literally had a step-by-step guide on his website how to do this. The lover boy method is also a way to get people sex trafficked, and it's literally illegal.
it is. Well,
it's very funny that he had it written out like that on his website. It's all like, I think it's all erased now because he transitioned from that into like some like alpha male mindset type shit.
Yeah, I forgot which one came first. I got to be honest. Like when I first just saw him around, like there are a lot of.
He was like, he came out of nowhere on Instagram and like TikTok and everything like 2 months ago, and he like skyrocketed to fame.
What he does,
I know he was like a kickboxer or something originally. Like I don't know what the fuck else he did.
What this does is, again, I'm gonna have to take a step back, and as always, I'm gonna have to blame society on this. He has tapped into something that society is missing, and the reason why someone like Andrew Tate can succeed to the level he has is because he's filling a gap in the market that is wanted.
The misogyny gap.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And unfortunately, here's what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a gap.
It's a gap, but it's not necessarily misogyny. I would venture to say what happens is you have a gap in the market of masculinity, and then when you take positive male role models, in my opinion, when you lambast positive male role models. Sorry, I'm having a tough time speaking. I think it's the Purell in my whiskey. I think
you got spiked.
Yeah, I think I'm getting fucking I'm gonna pass out. When you take that out, it only leaves room for the worst of the worst. And so now what happens is the gap in the market for positive masculinity is then hijacked by toxic masculinity. And I think there's a lot of young men that are out there looking to hear things that are kind of embracing the idea of being a man and embracing the idea of saying like, dude, like, fuck you telling me, like, I'm just being honest. Like, you know, like there is a...
Well, it's like veiled on the like premise that it's like edgy. It's like edgy comedy. Oh, he's just a character. Da 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 da. He doesn't actually hate women. Look, he has all these women living with him that he stole their passports so they can't leave Romania.
Well, look at guys like, okay, Jordan Peterson is a good example. Joe Rogan's a good example of what I would consider to be very positive male role models. Now, those guys are constantly under scrutiny in mainstream culture for their takes on things that are not toxic. They're not misogynist. They're just honest. You know, like you and a lot of people, not just men, listen to that and go.
To be fair, so I agree with Joe Rogan. Jordan Peterson maybe started off like that, but then he like, I don't know, dude. He went weird when he was like, you have to do an all meat diet. And also now my brain is failing because I've only eaten meat for the last year.
Yeah, I think that's an example.
I'm actually in a coma. My daughter had to put me in induced coma because I only have meat in my body.
I think that, look, just like any human being on the planet, I don't, like, I was, I'm not gonna lie, like, I was disappointed when I was literally disappointed, and I know this sounds shitty to say, but I was disappointed when I found out he had like a really big like opioid issue. And I think that it kind of exposed the vulnerability of these people, that people aren't perfect. And this guy that's constantly teaching about like cleaning your room, figuring your own shelf out is like, also I'm a pillhead.
I still love that the cleaning your room is like his biggest contribution to society.
Yeah, but you know
but
what?
I mean, it is true. Like that kind of shit is true, but like that's the same thing that you're talking about with like that's a gap that needed to be filled with a positive role model. But then once they run out of talking about that shit, then they move on to the crazier shit.
Well, yeah, because people have a very distinct place in the cultural zeitgeist. Not everything you do and not everything you think is supposed to be relevant on a world scale. I mean, like you look at musicians, for instance, like you see musicians, it's like, you like their music and then you listen to them like talk about politics and you're like, I don't fucking agree with this guy at all. And what it teaches you is, oh, this isn't like a Jesus-like figure that is just everything they think and do is
still human.
right.
They don't have everything figured out.
They just make great music that is worthy of global attention, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they have a lot of very important, worthwhile things to say about math or fucking politics or anything else. So it's like you realize that, like, okay, so Jordan Peterson filled this.
That's why I still like Joe Rogan a lot, just because he at least at the end of the day knows he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And he will self-admit that.
Yes.
Whenever he brings up a topic, he's like jumping into the deep end.
But you have this culture right now in society that is very clearly kind of promoting ideas that, like, whenever something is wrong in your life, if you don't feel happy, if you don't feel this, if you don't feel like you're fulfilled, it's this outward expression of like you're mad at like the world. Like there's two different ways you can look at the world. You can either look at it and say, I hate my life, and that is the world's fault. Like it's the way society's set up, it's capitalism, it's this, it's that, it's blah, 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 blah. And that's why my life sucks. Or you can look at it and say, look, I have a lot better chance of changing myself than changing the world. And so maybe, the answer comes from within, where if I'm not happy, if I'm not successful, if I'm not fulfilled, I can make changes in my own life to change that. And so when you talk about like Jordan Peterson's idea of like cleaning your room, like that is a very powerful, and it seems so simplistic to guys like you and me that grew up in a kind of environment that promoted that.
That was the thing with Andrew Tate too, where he was like the first guy that these people were scrolling through TikTok, the kids, like these 13-year-old boys scrolling through TikTok, and they see this like kind of buff dude, and he's like, you have to go work out. You have to go work out because sluts are fucking everywhere. And you gotta be able to choke them out. You gotta be able to choke the sluts with your muscles.
Do you want a Bugatti? A weird accent, yeah.
Do you want a Bugatti? You have to go to the gym.
I mean, I think that's part of getting a Bugatti, to be honest. I don't think you can get a Bugatti without getting a little bench Gotti.
You want a Bugatti? Get women to cam for you.
Look, because this conversation is really making me think and really making me kind of clarify some things here. People only see at the top level, the cream that rises to the top, the most.
Well, do you know why we kind of touched on it for a second, but like basically he used his pyramid multi-level marketing, like, self-help course or whatever. Part of the program was, hey, everybody needs to make TikToks of my podcast or whatever the fuck, all of his content, and put that on your own accounts and flood TikTok. And basically, like, it's like throwing fucking, like, darts at a board. Eventually, you're going to hit a fucking bullseye.
Yeah.
So he had, like, 50, or I don't even know how many people are signed up, but, like,
tons.
even if it's, like, a couple hundred people putting up TikToks of you every day, like, of course you're gonna fucking get into the algorithm. Then it's good because then, okay, this is like content that's not allowed on TikTok. That's fine. It's not on my account. Fucking random Joe Schmo from Illinois is getting banned off TikTok.
He flooded the market with himself, and you got to give it to him. That's a pretty fucking genius way of doing it. I mean, I'm not saying that I would do it, but I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. Like if you were doing that like in a good way, promoting like a different message, I'd be like, well, that's like, pretty fucking smart.
Apparently, I don't know. I was actually thinking about this. We can make a contest of being like, hey, someone make a clip of the podcast whoever has the most popular clip gets $50 or $100 or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great fucking idea. I mean,
Yeah.
that's literally like that kind of
But
thinking.
for him,
not,
he was having people pay him, and then he would make them do work for him still, which is hilarious because he eventually turned all these like men who, you know, who wanted pussy so bad they would pay $50 a month to another man across the world who was trying like, and then ended up being there. He turned all these men into his webcam models, basically.
well, yeah, essentially that's okay. So what Andrew Tate is a pimp, and I mean that in the dictionary version of that. Now,
For sure.
When I look at guys like even Trump, for instance, and this goes back to the example of what I'm trying to get at, which is that there's a gap, in my opinion, in society where it has become a cultural norm to kind of shame like just confident male tendencies and just the idea that like masculine traits are like inherently like it's not something you don't hear people like talk about like the benefits like being like a man and doing this and like playing sports and fucking doing that. Like we have this weird culture that's almost like, oh, all that shit is like stupid, it's barbaric, it's brutish, it's dumb, you have to like evolve and be like not like some stupid fucking alpha guy. And it's like no. So what happens is look at a guy like Trump. It's a great example, and this is why I blame society, because if you don't like Trump, you at least have to acknowledge that what he said, the message that he was preaching, he preached it differently. He preached in this very bombastic, unapologetic, go fuck yourself way that people didn't like. But the actual things he was talking about are things that, for instance, closing the border on the southern border, that was a Democratic position in the late 2000s. Fucking his stances on all kinds of things are not crazy stances. And they actually...
Well, it was all stuff that resonated with the country that wasn't the coast. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The East Coast or the West Coast.
But what happens is you had all these Republican candidates, these fake poser dudes who like they you know, like they're just politicians. They're not that bright. They read the script, they toe the party line. And
Trump had Riz.
He had Riz. The politicians as a general rule are afraid of
fucking
being
losers.
They're afraid of you know, causing a ripple. They're afraid of roughing anybody's feathers. They just want to get voted in next fucking semester, whatever you want to call it, next term. And so they as society started being like, no, we don't want that, they would be like, oh, I guess you're right. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And then so there was a whole market of people that wanted people and those ideas to be on a mainstream scale, but all the people that were supposed to be representing them pussied out. And so the only people that like rose to the top were the people that were so fucking just like, I don't give a fuck what you think. This is how it's going to fucking be. And then that's the person you wind up with. But that's not because all these fucking middle America Republicans are just these racist, hateful people. It's because they were supposed to have people that represented them in a fair and normal way.
And also
and
they got told like lies, basically. They got told what they wanted to hear, which every politician does. Every politician lies, but like they were promised like we're gonna help infrastructure nationwide. That never happened. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Like we're gonna bring back the fucking coal mines or whatever the fuck. Like, which I think that did happen. Unfortunately,
I think look things. I don't fucking know what happened. All I'm saying is the line goes on both sides. Going to Andrew Tate,
but it wasn't like yeah. No, I agree with you. Like in the beginning, Trump wasn't like. He was just saying normal shit that every politician says.
Yeah.
But then like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know, like once what's a good analogy for this? Like once you like call someone a monster enough times, they're going to become one. You know what I mean? Like he originally wasn't this crazy fucker, but like at the end of his term, like they fucking made him into it.
It became his brand.
Yeah.
It became his brand, and that's kind of, you know, all circling back to our original thing.
But then also like you lose the normal fucking people that were backing you, and all you have left is the crazies.
And now here's the reality. In his
all you have left is the people that went to January 6th.
Well, yeah, in his most recent campaign, he very clearly has, you know, been advised by some. You can tell that his approach is different. He's trying to take this more like middle of the road, like low key approach. I don't know if just because he's older now. I mean, you got to remember the guy's in his late 70s now. I mean, it's not like, you know, it's like there's a, you know, the 70 to 80 timeline is, I would imagine, one of the biggest declines in a person's life, just in terms of like their energy and just their whole thing. So you can tell that he's kind of like you know, diluted his approach a little bit. And because it's so out of tune with his brand, a lot of people really aren't enthused about his candidacy. Like, it's not really a super relevant thing. Like, it's been established that he is planning on running in 2024, but people aren't really talking about it as much as you would expect, or as much as it was a big deal, because he himself has dialed back to like what he has been told is like a more effective political approach. And it's not resonating with people the same way if he were just continue doing what he was doing. So there's an aspect of that. As it goes to Andrew Tate, I guess my whole point is he, as a pimp, the whole job of a pimp is to identify weaknesses in people, identify market gaps and fill them. Look, there's a gap for sex in regular society market. There's a lot of guys who don't get pussy and they want pussy. Guess what? Every guy wants pussy the same amount. The difference is some guys can get it and some guys can't. So boom, here you go. Now we have prostitutes. And guess what? Those prostitutes, people that are willing to sell their body for money, to let random guys fuck them for a certain amount of money, they're not always the most stable, put together people. They usually have problems of themselves. And so those people also desire a sense of stability and protection from someone else. And that's where the pimp comes in. So the pimp comes in and says, okay, look, you be part of my fucking thing, and then you can go do the thing that you're going to do, and I'll provide you with the system and the resources and the protection and the organization, all that other stuff. So when you look at like what he does, the most glaring example of that is the fact that, and I got to be honest, before this whole thing really blew up about him, I didn't really think one way or the other about Andrew Tate. I've heard interviews with him where a lot of the stuff he said made sense, and I agree with a lot of the stuff. And I think if most people were to listen to him in an extended format and just listen to him broadly speaking about certain issues, as opposed to just hearing sound clips of the worst possible out of context things you can imagine, you would find a lot of things in there that you'd be like, yeah, that's pretty much like, there's no debating that he's, in my opinion, there's no denying that he's not a pretty with it, intelligent, guy. The problem is
but he's a narcissist.
Yeah.
And I think that was his biggest downfall. Like he just broadcasted all of the shit, the illegal shit he was doing to anyone who would listen. Like something that happened in the Vice documentary, which fucking originally he was being investigated in England for, rape and a bunch of other shit. Mm-hmm. And some of the texts that he sent to one of the victims that the police really fumbled the bag on, because they're like, I don't know, they're not good with it over there. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. But one of the texts he sent one of the girls was like, is it bad that when you don't want it, when I rape you, that's what gets me off the most? Like, he literally texted one of his victims that he raped her. And the police saw that and were like, yeah, but also we have this other text with one of his other victims that you guys both texted like, hey, should we bring up the fact that we were drunk one of the nights that one of the assaults happened? Mm-hmm. And the police were like, actually, you guys probably wanted it.
Yeah. Well, okay, there's two things about that. The story, the whole pizza box story,
is fucking hilarious.
It's hilarious, but I'm gonna be real. I don't think that's really the way it went. And I think they even talked to the remote, because the whole narrative was
it might not have happened. He got some but I like to think it happened.
It's a great movie plot.
So sorry to cut you off.
No, can you tell it while I take a piss real quick?
The pizza box thing with Andrew Tate was, so the story is, and I believe it. The Romanian police were investigating him for a while, and they were just waiting for the right time to nab him. And because he travels around so much, they didn't know when he would be in Romania. But Greta Thunberg clapped at him on Twitter, and he clapped back with a video response. And in the video, he had a pizza box in frame from a local pizza shop that is only a chain in Romania. So the Romanian authorities saw the pizza box on his fucking desk and were like, perfect, let's fucking roll this boy in. So that's the pizza box story. Apparently also, like, so his brother got arrested. One of the girls that was basically his Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested, as well as, I don't know if it was a former cop or a current cop. He had a Romanian police officer like in his harem that got rolled up with him. I was just saying Jimmy was on a pee break.
Oh, I heard you.
So he got rolled up with his brother, his basically Ghislaine Maxwell woman that would procure women for him, and then also either an ex or a current police officer that was also in the ranks.
Yes. Now, that's a good comparison you make there between like the Ghislaine, what is it, Ghislaine? I don't fucking know how it's pronounced. How did you say
Ghislaine.
Ghislaine. Okay, we'll go with that. I've always been a Ghislaine guy, so.
I mean, it might be that.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
I've only ever read it.
It's a weird fucking name.
I've never met her myself.
Yeah,
so.
they don't talk about her enough to actually know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
But, okay, so look at her. That's a good example. Epstein, clearly a fucking creep. Clearly, but again, a pimp. And he is tapping into this thing where, look, I don't know why it is, but there appears to be a tremendous market, particularly in the high classes. And maybe it's just one of those things where like there's an equal desire for like, I don't know why. Look, there's clearly a desire in society for underage girls. There's a reason why weare18.com exists. There's a reason why barelylegal.com exists. There's a reason why these things exist. And like,
so you're going to bust another one out.
There's a reason why I have subscriptions to all these websites.
Like 10 minutes straight.
Need I go on?
Just graduated.cc.
Almost not legal.org.
Lock me the fuck up. I need help.org.
There's a reason why all that exists. And so I guess when you are rich enough, you have the money and the resources to be able to like access these like weird loopholes.
My life a movie.
Yeah. Oh, we are 18. No. There's a reason why that all exists. And then so Epstein was tapping into that. And then he gets this Ghislaine Maxwell character to kind of be like his bait, like
His
she's
top bitch.
Recruiter, top bitch. Is she a victim? No. Nobody's accusing Ghislaine Maxwell of being a victim. She was complicit in the thing. And this is kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, I don't see these. Okay, I know that the way it's been pitched, is that Andrew Tate is holding these women prisoners or whatever. I don't fucking know. All I'm saying is he tells a story, and the way he told the story was, and this is exactly verbatim what he said. I forgot what interview it was on. It might have been on the Impulsive with Logan Paul or whatever, or maybe a Barstool podcast. I'm not sure. But on one of these podcasts, he publicly talked about how when he was first kind of getting canceled, he was like, dude, I need to figure out a way to make money. And he was like, I had 5 girlfriends at the time. I can't do a fucking accent. Nobody knows what his accent is. It's like every accent
He's
combined.
like, no, it's crazy. He's apparently like mixed. He's like a mixed English dude.
That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
just like he's like American one sentence, and the next sentence he's like from fucking Liverpool. It's like it doesn't make sense. But anyway, so he's telling stories like I had 5 girlfriends at the time. And then I was like, fuck it, I need to make money. So I flew them all in. None of these girls knew about each other at the time. None of them knew that he had 4 other girlfriends. So he flies them all in and he sits them down. And this is the first time they're all in a room together. And they're all like, who are you? And he's like, I'm his girlfriend. They're like, well, I'm his girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And he explains the whole business model. He's like, look, what we're going to do is we're going to start this webcam company. We're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And so he said 3 out of the 5 after that, they're all getting in fights and obviously like whatever. And then 3 of them leave. 2 of them stay. 2 of them decide they're going to go along with it. And so from that point, he does this whole thing. And this is honestly where I lost a ton of respect for him, because I don't like people that play on other people's weaknesses. And that's something that like even a lot of like more conservative leaning people that were kind of in his corner when this whole thing kind of broke out, when they found out about that, it's like, well, I can't really say that I'm like sad that you're getting nabbed the way you are, because even if what he's doing isn't illegal, which I don't know the fucking laws enough to be like, if you are like
you're just a big fan of monogamy.
Like, no, I'm just saying, like, it's sad because like
I'm just kidding.
He told this whole thing where he was like, so like, you know, we have these models and like, you know, kind of like OnlyFans chicks, what Nick Oldershaw talks about, where like he was like the guy who would like do the messaging for them. So like, you know, they're working and then like they go to sleep, but like during that time, like there's a whole staff of people that are like doing the DMs, like talking to these guys and getting them to send money and like, oh, I'm gonna meet up with you, I just need this amount of money to do this. And he's just running like a Nigerian prince scam basically on all these lonely men who think that they've somehow matched with this like insanely hot Ukrainian chick or whatever, Romanian chick, and are like, oh, I'll fly you into the fuck. And I knew somebody personally in my life, a friend of my parents, relative that like was taken for like thousands and thousands of dollars from them. Yeah, kind of like that. And so it's a thing. I don't really actually know the legality of that, especially between countries, like maybe in America. I don't know. Maybe that's why he went to Romania to do it.
Well, I think after he skirted the charges in the UK, he was like, let me go to like a place where my money is going to make me look incredibly more rich than I am. And then also has probably, you know, he was like, oh, the Romanian police force, they're never going to fucking get me.
Now,
it's like the UK couldn't get me. Romania's not going to get me.
I do not grant the women that were involved in this scheme, I don't grant them victimhood. I don't. I think that they were all complicit. I think they were all making money. I think that there is a large component of society where
I don't know, bro. A lot of these, if you watch the Vice documentary, a lot of them were like tormented.
I'm sure
they were like beaten, strangled, raped, like. They were.
I'm sure the Vice documentary paints a certain. Again, I'm just saying. I'm not saying they definitely weren't. I'm just saying that there's enough examples in everyday society of women who completely take advantage of the fact that they can do that and make money doing that, and they do it.
But the thing that's crazy is that like they don't need him. They don't like the pimp. As an idea, as a person, I guess made sense more when you actually had to fuck the dude. But now you can just post a picture of not even your pussy, you in your underwear, and have it behind a $30 paywall.
I mean, at the same time,
there's no need for that guy.
At the same time, I mean, this guy with the whole fucking like pyramid scheme marketing tactic that he had, like he clearly proved that he was capable of taking something that maybe wasn't.
But that's the thing. That's illegal.
It is like, legal, you said?
No, it's illegal. To like the lover boy method thing that we talked about earlier. The thing that like he self-snitched himself on is a tactic in like not like, I don't even know, sex trafficking, I think.
Yeah. Well, okay. While I was taking a piss, you were telling the story about the thing. And I think this goes back to when I was talking about, when we were talking about like the way music is marketed and the way everything's marketed and branded. I don't think that, and I just want to preface this whole tangent here. It's not a tangent because it's relevant. By saying, I think Andrew Tate is a dick after learning about just even whether or not, and this is the thing for me, whether or not these women were complicit in it, and I'm not saying all of them were complicit. I'm also not saying that some of them weren't complicit. Like, I think that there's this weird kind of like binary, because I'm super woke, that we tend to be like, oh, every single woman that was making thousands of dollars off of this shit was a complete victim. They were prisoners. They didn't want anything to do with it.
I think he was taking all the money.
Regardless, that whole story of like, with the fucking tweet at Greta Thunberg, which is a stupid tweet. It wasn't even like a good tweet. It was like the douchiest tweet ever. And then Greta Thunberg replies back. First of all, first point of contention. I've watched plenty of Greta Thunberg.
No, and this is not a Greta Thunberg defense force over here. Like, she's annoying as well.
She did not come up with that reply on her own.
She's also like Now people talk about like plants in the music industry. She's a plant in the fucking activist community.
Absolutely. So she has a whole staff of people that were like, oh,
Well, and
perfect.
her like parents like are
Yeah.
fucking millionaires,
Like-
and they put her on that platform
That
because
w-
they're like, this will be good for our child.
Totally. They're stage
Our
parents.
child's a little bit slow.
Yeah,
so,
so let's make her fucking come out here and be this thing. They're stage parents, and that clapback, which was a good clapback, you would think that if she was capable of something like that, that you would have heard that ever at any other point. But somehow behind a Twitter wall, she just comes up with this like fucking complete owning of this other guy, and it's like, no, sorry, there's a staff of people that were like, all right, this is what we're gonna say.
Yeah.
So that's not Greta Thunberg
But-
sitting there be like, small dick energy. Sorry, she's sorry.
It is pretty hilarious that he in his true form, his true self-snitching narcissistic form of like accidentally telling way too much about everything. He had the pizza box from a local chain that let the authorities know, okay, he's back in Romania. Let's fucking get him.
Yes, but that's the thing.
And I get that could be a story, but also so could every fucking thing else that he lies about on podcasts.
Well, totally,
That you're
totally,
like,
totally,
this
totally.
is so cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's cool. I'm saying that story, like, I'm sorry, there's sometimes when you hear a story and it just like, it's such a neat little bow on it. And you're like,
But
really?
also, that's
is that how it happened?
life works sometimes.
They fucking
I want to believe that story so bad.
because it's good, but I'm sorry. I feel like I've also heard people, on other avenues of information be like, look, the Romanian police came out, we're like, we got him, we found out where he was, we did that. The whole story of like, we got him because of a pizza box in a Twitter reply is not how that happened. And it's like,
Yeah, but also all the misinformation that his team put out, that it was like, oh, it's an investigation about money laundering. Oh, he's actually out of jail already. Like, it's not a big deal. And then all those stories got circled around, and no, he's still in jail. He applied
Yeah.
for bond. They denied it. He's in jail until the trial.
yeah, which who knows when that's going to be in fucking Romania. I mean, Romania is not exactly known to be the most uncorrupt place on the planet.
Bro,
Ask me
fucking
high.
Dracula his ass, bro.
Yeah, they'll
Cut his
fucking
head off and put it on a steak.
they'll suck him dry, baby. Whoops. No, I like it, whether or not that story is accurate. I guess my whole point is like, we as outsiders, we are only in touchness with whatever's going on in his life is through the medium of other people, third hand, fourth hand information, where everybody purveying that information has an angle. And so if you're watching the Vice documentary, for sure, they're going to spin it in a way where it's like everything he was doing was completely evil. And like these fucking women were completely in prison. They had no choice, blah, blah, blah. And if you watch like a fucking right wing thing, they're going to be like, no, that's bullshit. It wasn't this, blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, for me, I just look at it and like my own personal opinion is like, it seems a little too perfect that that's actually what was going on. It just seems a little bit too much like, I mean, kind of like the whole thing with like the COVID backstory where it was like, oh, it was just it was just a fucking wet market that happened to be in the same city where the lab that was synthesizing the virus also existed, but it actually had nothing to do with that. And it was actually just somebody ate like bat soup and then the bat had, and it's like, really? Because that seems like a
Yeah, 'cause
really...
the lab thing sounds more real.
Yeah.
It was probably.
It probably was, but there was a time when you couldn't even like if you in the beginning times of COVID, if you went on Facebook or Instagram and pitched the idea that it was leaked from the Wuhan coronavirus lab, which I think
Which
really
surprisingly was the first place that got COVID.
yeah, amazing. Very big coincidence. And I think what really broke that was when Jon Stewart went on the Colbert late night show and did that whole bit. And then I think that kind of brought it to the mainstream. We're like, wait, this is kind of ridiculous to think that that's not what happened. But this story that were pitched originally was this perfect, like in a box,
it
neat
is
and
very
tidy.
silly that like people were like, you're being racist saying that it came from a lab. Actually, what happened? A fucking bat shit on an armadillo at a wet market, and then a Chinese person ate that. Because that's what they eat over there.
Yeah.
And
Obviously,
that's not
he ate
racist.
That. Yeah. Yeah, it's racist that you would think it's not just because Chinese people eat weird stuff. It's like, what? No. I think your theory is racist. I'm just saying that they had scientists that accidentally were doing experiments and leaked the fucking virus, and you're saying no, it's just because they're like really weird.
Yeah, they eat fucking pangolins.
Yeah. So like, I look at that and there's just been too many perfect examples throughout every fucking issue where it's like, sorry, Again, I know I've been blaming society a lot, but I'm gonna blame society again. If you're wondering why
Blame
I'm
society
not,
one more time.
I'm gonna blame society one more time and say, if you're blaming me for not immediately subscribing to whatever the first narrative of how things went, is, then I'm going to say that's your fault because of the amount of times, not your fault, but society's fault. I'm going to say that's society's fault for how many times that we've been given an original narrative and been told that that is the way it happened and not to talk about any other options. And then a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, it comes out, oh, wait, that's not actually what happened. But at this point, it's over with, so who gives a fuck? Oh, fucking, Vietnam War. Everybody at the time, like, they fucking at Pearl Harbor. I'm sure there's fucking weird shit about that. Fucking, they just randomly, Japan's in a fucking war already kind of having a hard time, and their first thought was, dude, let's bring in the biggest country in the world against us. Let's do that. That seems like a good tactical strategy. Let's get the United States involved by attacking a random port in Hawaii for no seemingly apparent reason. And let's go lose. Let's lose. We're Japan. We're having a hard enough time.
Lose the right to ever have a military in the future.
Let's do that. Sorry, that doesn't add up. And then what happens is, as time goes on and then the world war is over and then people start talking like, well, actually, that probably isn't what happened. Then it's like, well, it's already over. So now nobody cares anymore. JFK was assassinated by the fucking CIA probably, or the mob or something like that. But then it goes, he's dead now. We got like 17 presidents since then. So like now that we pretty much have accepted that most people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that wasn't like a lone actor. It's like, it's too late. So like, that is kind of the thing. Like, when something happens and the next day there's a story that says exactly how it happened and it seems perfect. Sorry, I don't buy it. I don't fucking buy it. I really don't fucking buy that this entire international...
Romanians are that creative to make a story up like that, Jimmy?
They made up Dracula. I mean, that's a pretty good story. That's a pretty good story. I mean, we fucking based a lot of movies on that shit.
That's true.
No, this is not a defense of Andrew
I was
Tate.
being the woke person that was talking about the wet markets in that scenario.
Come on.
You think Chinese people have a lab that advanced?
Oh, please. You think Romanians are creative? Come on. Come on, man. No, so, just to tie a neat little fucking bow on this, Andrew Tate, undeniably, kind of a douchebag. Mm-hmm. Is he guilty of everything he's accused of? I don't know.
Maybe, maybe not. I'd definitely say some of the stuff, definitely, he's guilty of. But no, yeah. I don't know. I just think it's, it's a topic that's in the very, front of everything right now. We had to talk about it.
You got to talk about it.
We had to get through it.